Peter Barkhammar, thrilled to be here with you today. So glad we could make the time to get connected. And you're all the way up in Stockholm in Sweden, and I'm down here on my beautiful beach in Bali. And by the magic of technology, which, has not been without its challenges for us today, it's great for us to finally be connected. And really cool that we could take this time to get together and be connected.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. So purpose for our call today, or for our connection, is that you are founder and founding father of this whole eco-regions concept, which is just doing amazing things in Indonesia now. And I wanted to hear it from you, man, what this thing's really all about, and, some of the challenges, a bit of your story, what you've been through, and also to hear about, what's the opportunity here, what's really going on, and how can people get involved in this amazing, amazing concept that is eco-regions Indonesia, Tanjung Ringgit, the 8 islands, all this cool stuff that's happening. And literally, you can see the tan on my face. I've just come back from being over there in the last few days in the sun, and just absolutely magnificent. I mean, it's just stunning. The pristine oceans, the coral seas, the soft white sand, the coconut trees, the soft grass. It's paradise. It really is so beautiful. So once again, glad we could take the time to get connected, and really looking forward to hearing this story.
And so how did I get involved in all of this?
Tell me from the start, probably the first bit. Just what is this whole concept? What is it that's actually going? What's the core concept? What are you doing there?
Well, I lived in Bali since early 90s for a very long time, and I was doing what most people do, trading in silver and clothing and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I got a bit fed up with Bali, and I moved to the Gillies. And I started to enjoy living in Lombok because it was a bit more slow, like a bit more my pace, not so digital, a more analog feel, which reminded me about India, actually. Even though Bali is Hindus and Lombok are Muslims, but it was more a feeling of being back in India. And I used to live there after school in India.
Oh, wow.
I got a feeling of coming back home in a way. It was more my pace. And I felt at home in Lombok very much. And then I met a very interesting character named Ekadana, which is a good friend and a lawyer and an activist in many ways. Mm-hmm. And we connected, and he said, dig your style, man. Come to my office. I'm going to show you the ropes of Lombok, and if you're interested, we can do something. So, eager to meet him, I went to his office, and he said, we're going to build a new international airport here in Lombok, and we need tourists to come. So, would you like to be a part of this? And I said, well, if we go sustainable, if we go eco as much as we can, and do everything opposite what happened to Bali, then I can find energy within myself, and I can find friends around the world that have the same ambitions as me, and then we can do something.
Nice.
And then he said, well, that's my feeling too. I love that concept, and that's how we started. Wow. And we went to look at lots of land around Lombok, and then I thought, this is a great opportunity, but there's no way I can swing this by myself. But I felt that we can do it large. And I went to see some political figures in Lombok together with Eka, just to verify that it was real. Mm-hmm. And it seemed to be real. So then I went back to Sweden, took up with my partner, John Higson, which I knew could swing it. And he has a lot of experience with working with big projects. He worked with governments, and he became quite a figure in Sweden. Mm-hmm. And as you know, as a foreigner, it's always easier, or not always, but quite often you can come, you can charm a local community with your accent, with your thing, you know what I mean? You can get away with stuff that a local man or woman cannot. So I heard about him because I didn't live in Sweden, but I came back and forth all the time to visit family and so on. And I heard there was an English guy doing some funky stuff here in Sweden. So I thought I want to meet him. and which I did. I met him, and he was a cool guy, and I introduced him to what I was doing in Lombok. And this was prior, actually, to the big project. I had a little thing going on in the Gillies, which he was interested in. And then when I got this bigger project, then I went to talk to him, and he said, okay, I'm all in, mate. So I showed him the map, and he'd been to Lombok some years earlier. So he said, okay, I'm familiar with around the areas where it is. And we went down to Sekotong in the west of Lombok, southwest. So that's where we started looking around. So I went back to fish him out, and we went down there. And we actually put some deposit on some land there because there was loads and loads of land available. And we thought this could be like a good eco-region, a good start.
Yep.
And then in the middle of this, we put some deposit down. We talked to the local Bupati of West Lombok. We already done quite a few meetings. We got some investors involved in Sweden and other places. And then in the middle of this whole gold rush kicked in. It was Klondike galore down there, and everybody's digging for gold.
When was this? What year?
This is maybe 7-8 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
so like
7 years ago, 6-7 years ago.
2010, something around there.
Yep. And it was poisoning the groundwater. So it was a lot of arsenic and what else you need? You use quicksilver. These type
mercury,
of mercury. Yeah, exactly. So it seemed like a pretty bad idea to be there at that time doing the eco thing. And then I was having a meeting. John was back in Sweden. I said, we need to pull the plug on this. And he said, yeah, fuck, we can't hack it if we have all this mercury poisoning and so on. And it seemed to be the end of the eco-regions. And then me and Eka was sitting at the table, and we were just quiet. We said, fuck it. And we've been working so hard for so many months on this. And then, okay, that's it. And we're going to go separated ways, basically. And then I said, do you have a map of Lombok? So he pulled out the map, and I heard about Tanjung Ringgit, or the east of Lombok, from some friends that have been sailing down there. And they went there a couple of times, said it's amazing. And I spoke to some people. Nobody knew about the place, even the Lombok people, the Sasak people. It was a hidden gem, this place. So I said to Eka, why don't you go there? And he said, I've never been. But go there and check it out. And I went back to Sweden. And then he called me like 2 weeks later. And he said, I went there. It's great. It's forestry land. And even better than Sekotong. So I think you should come back. So I just jumped on an airplane and I went there and we looked at the land. And it was amazing, incredible.
Yeah.
And no people there because it's forestry land.
Yep.
And at that time, they were interesting to find investors coming into Lombok. So just on that first visit in Tanjung Ringgit, I called back to John. I said, it's amazing, man. It has great potential. So he said, okay, I'm going to book all the team. So he booked a bunch of international experts, some heavy hitters that was going to come. So I rented a big pirate ship, a Phoenician wooden, Indonesian sailing boat.
Yeah.
So we had a pirate ship parked down there, and all the experts in various fields of permaculture. It was Petra Schneider and the whole Alam Santi team coming from Bali. That was, of course.
Yep.
And then various experts from various parts of the world was turning up for this event. And we had about 20 people on the boat. And together with Joachim Eble, the father of green buildings of Germany, and he was with his team starting the master plan. So looking into what aspects of the land and interviews with the local communities and so on and so on. And everybody loved the place, but we realized there's lots to do because the land is quite scarred. And what's happening in lots of forestry land in Indonesia, and I think about 60% plus of Indonesia is under the forestry regulations. So it's probably the biggest landowner in Southeast Asia. I don't know that, but it's...
Sure. It's significant anyway.
Significant. So what happens, they don't even... If there's no money left in the land, if there's no logging, or if there's no natural resources of any kind of dimensions, they can't afford the protection of that land. So then anybody can go in there and slash and burn and do as they please.
It's on the forestry land. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
because it's very hard to manage for the forest department, because they need to send out people, they need to have, the whole infrastructure.
Sure.
And if there's no cash involved in one area, why would they put, an office or have guards down there and so on?
Yeah, I understand.
And then people that don't have land, they move in and they grow corn, or they grow certain things, a full Monsanto chemical, and they just slash and burn because it's not their land. They don't know if they're ever going to come back. So they don't care. And it's totally understandable, if you don't have enough cash and you have an opportunity. So it was a bit like that down there.
I saw buffalo down there too, big herds of buffalo.
Yeah, there's lots of buffalo. So it's been a bit wild east down there. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And they had just transferred the rights of productive forestry to protected forestry for ecotourism.
Okay.
Due to the establishment of the new international airport. Okay.
Gotcha.
But then no means of how you're going to pay. It's fine to just to zone off areas for tourism. But if you now go into areas of forestry land, it might be very, very far from any infrastructure. Okay, so it's been cut off there. So if they're going to set up a tourist thing, they need to bring in the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Which, of course, it will be a local budget unless there is like a big interest from Jakarta down through the province and into the local government. And it's very often the case that they might zone it for one specific thing, for tourism in this case, and then it will be one or two little dive shops and a little generator on the beach. It's not going to be like a big push because they can't afford it.
Yeah, gotcha.
So that's how our discussions started. It said, well, we can pay our own infrastructure as long as we're allowed to import what we need. So you just need to spend the ink of your pen. That's all you need, and then we pay for it, as long as we get a big area where we can actually do the real thing with the local community, with the nature, and with the whole thing.
So who was this conversation with?
This was with the local government.
Okay. And that's really how it kind of happened then, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
And John is very masterful. It's one of his strengths to put together visions and bring them into practicality.
Yeah.
So he's one of the few people I know that can have the visions and also put them down into papers. Normally it's two different brains, but he got both those brains. So he put together an incredible plan, actually, from the visions that we had that made a lot of sense. And then they said, okay, this is very, very interesting. We actually see that you have some potential. And then we brought down, so we did 3 meetings down there with a big wooden ship.
Yeah.
And one time we brought down the Swedish ambassador.
Wow.
Because Sweden at the time showed some interest in this, and we were funded in the beginning by the Swedish government as a little. They helped us to fund the first meeting.
Okay.
the Swedish export department had just opened shop in Jakarta, and to start connections with the biggest economy in Southeast Asia, Indonesia. Then, of course, a Swedish driven eco region, great, and Sweden is all behind eco sustainability, empower the local women and so on. They have agendas. So we had the same agenda. So they're like, great guys, we like what you're doing, and we like to be at meetings. We like to help you out.
Perfect.
We like what you're trying to do. So it just came about that it could be good income for the BKPM, the Foreign Investment Agency of Indonesia, and the Tourist Department and the Forest Department, to take areas where it's already been cut. There is no more profit to be made. It only goes minus. It's just leaking, topsoil is disappearing due to water buffaloes and so on, which kills the corals as the topsoil is being flushed into the ocean, and it kills the corals and the nurseries for the fish, and eventually the fishermen is, it's all linked together. So how can you do that? How can you do something about this situation? You need money. They don't have the money. So we said, we take this scarred land, which now a real asset in a modern world is peace and quiet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what the people want. They want peace and quiet. And very early we try to angle it like, this is your way to get back on big brother Bali, you Lombok. So this is the way, and so less is more here. Bali has done completely the opposite. They put on all the lights, you know what I mean? They went bananas on it all, which is totally understandable. And rather than doing a lame copy of Bali, you should be original. You should be Lombok. Lombok should be nature. And then you do a 2-weeker to Bali Lombok. You can do 1 week with the culture, the shopping, the greatness of Bali. And then you can do 1 week where there's peace and quiet in Lombok. And then they compensate each other rather than being, rivals. So that could be like a good situation.
Beautiful.
So less is more. So just let's try to make it a place where you go and eat organic food and you relax from all light and sound pollution. And all we wanted was a big enough region to make it serious. So we don't do a little resort or a bunch of resorts and then the guy next to us is polluting like crazy. So we do a whole area, then we can put interest and we can bring a whole international team and really do it. And they said, okay. So that's how it started, the eco region. And we got a big area of several thousand hectares. And then, of course, we needed to do all the rules and the regulations and the whole plan for that in order to make sure that everything that we want is being benefited by this vision. So we start with nature is the asset. So that needs to be first. So we put attention there. And then it's a local community. Then it's local decision makers. And then national decision makers. And then comes the investors. And then the tourists and so on and so on. And unless you set up the rules before you let in the investors, they're never going to listen to you after. So and it comes down to sustainability in when it comes to workforce. And you can't just push an investor to say you need to hire the local people unless they are educated. So then fine, we can have this vision together. We've done everything with the local people. All the community planning has been with the locals. What's your dream? What do you want? And we use some really good people for this that are experts in community planning that go around the world to do this. John Thompson Partners from England, brilliant team of, they're supposed to be leading in Europe or the world when it comes to community planning. And they had some tricks how to get the information from all the individuals within a village. So nobody knew at the end of the meetings, because we got divided into groups. You're number 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I mean? So everybody got mixed up. And then everybody got to say what they wanted. Yeah. So the chief didn't really know who. And then it was the consensus of all that which became the deal.
Yeah, nice.
And maybe the chief, he wants a local pier for his fishing boats. And he said, "Oh, that's how it's going to be." And all the other, men that is lower ranked than him and the women, they don't dare to say anything. But now it came out, and it was like 25 for a new hospital and only 3 for the pier. We go hospital. You know what I mean?
Yeah, gotcha.
So then we got the essence of what the local community wanted, and we did many of these with them.
Wow.
So then, of course, we put that into the master plan, what they wanted. So we all own the project together, and that is how it started. And I think for them down there, and it's one of the poorest areas of Indonesia, actually. There's been traditionally one southeast Lombok down there, because very dry and and you need to really understand how you work with the nature down there, which they don't have the knowledge, and they have not had any reason to learn it in a sustainable way, because it was not theirs. It belonged to the forest department. So slash and burn made more sense. Just go in and take what you can. So we, with a big plan, we said, okay, we can take land with no infrastructure, we can build it ourselves, but let's make the region big enough. Let's give us the tools to empower the local community, to educate them prior to the flood of investors coming in, So it takes some time. Let's play ball together, and let's do it, because regional development must start with nature and the local people. And they said, okay. And that's how it started, basically.
That's how it all started. So where are we up to now? What's the situation?
Where we are now, when we started this and we did the community planning, so we brought all the experts, the West Sumbawa government got interested. So we went over to the 8 islands, which is just with speedboat from East Lombok. It's about 45 minutes, 50 minutes. With ferries and so on, it takes a very long time. But that will be the second ecoregion. So together, that will be a whole destination.
I just did that journey yesterday, and it's just beautiful. I mean, even on the ferry, we had the cars downstairs, and we're all sitting upstairs. And you're looking around and going, "Oh God, it's so beautiful."
Yeah. So that's the Ala Strait, which is the strait in Lombok and Sumbawa. So that will be a whole new destination. And when we started this thing, Indonesia had already a plan of opening the economy to the east, because Java and Bali been holding all the cash, basically, all the greenbacks been coming in there. Primarily. So the view was to expand to the east, to open Indonesia up to the east. So our program came perfect, because we were east of Bali and Java. You know what I mean? So they're like from the central government also has like, okay, so that, because what we had was maybe a good income. It could be a new income for the forest department on scarred land where they couldn't make any money. Now with reforestation and ecotourism and lots of working opportunities for tax revenue for the government, through ecotourism, they could make money in ways they couldn't see possible before we did this vision. And then they're like, oh, if it can work like that, look, we have so much forestry land. The whole fucking country, in fact. And this could be very interesting. Let's talk about this. And where we are now, we have 2 regions, and we started to build we put our first office in Tanjung Ringgit. And we've been for years working on this. It's been, as you know, politically working. Politically, it can take a very long time. I leave it like that, but it's not always as easy. Papers are signed, doesn't necessarily mean so much until you actually do it. yeah, we learned a lot, as you do. And so now we have 2 areas close to each other in the Allah Straits, which is like a new tourist destination that is seen by local, provincial and central governments as something to support in order to make justice of the new airport and find new destinations within that area that can act as a supplement to Bali. So we have Bali, you have the Gili. Now you have South Lombok, you have Kuta, which is happening down there, and now we have and now also we attach West Sumbawa. So that's how the eco-region is growing, and our strength, I would say, is that we do everything with the local people, and we grow together with them, and it becomes a very powerful force when we all sit down and have the same vision, and everybody's painfully aware of something is wrong, but we cannot really find how we're going to make it right. So when we sit down together and listen to each other from different cultures, different ways, and we have one common goal, which is a smile upon our faces and clean water and air for ourselves and our children, then something beautiful happens.
Beautiful. And I had the opportunity to sit with a lot of the local people. We actually interviewed them, and I was able to just really connect and hear their stories and kind of figure out who they are and what their views were and what their experience was on the whole eco-regions, you guys coming in and all the stuff that you've been doing. And they had some beautiful things to share, with the training, the English teaching, all the other training that you provided. And they were just, beautiful people, but so grateful for what you've already done, what you've already built. And of course, this whole thing's just getting started. We're just starting to put the big players in place and do all the stuff. So it was really lovely. And I could hear when I was talking with John too, just his love for the people and his commitment to their welfare and their well-being, as much as to the local area, and of course the air and the water and the land and it's just a really, there's so many. What kind of makes me mad a bit is the people who are out there talking about environmental issues, talking about sustainability, and it's all just greenwash marketing talk to try and attract a certain niche market, and they're not actually on the back end doing anything to back it up. When I talk to you guys, and to be fair, all the speakers that I've had on the summit, all the people that I'm speaking to, they've got such a heart for our planet, such a love for Earth and for people. And I feel that really strongly from you and John as well. And it's just beautiful.
Yeah. And it comes down to the same thing, it's like everybody, when you speak to investors, or my experience anyway, when you speak to big investors, they say, well, do you want to be a part of changing the planet? You want to be, it's like, I heard it all before, blah, blah, blah. But if you say like this, do you want to make some money if you're into the tourist thing and save the planet? They're like, hey, even better. Okay, then, you know what I mean? So, and I personally don't care why people want to join this thing, because I just need to see a change, how we deal with this planet. I got kids, and, you know what I mean? So I just want to do it and give something back to the local communities that always taking care of me so much. And but people are not so interested unless there is some gold at the end of the little path, and fair enough.
Sure. So
in this case, it just happened to be more easy to get people involved because green is hip now.
Yeah.
Green is cool.
Very
green
cool.
Is, so the companies that have been busy fucking the planet up are now making money to unfuck it.
Clean it up. Yeah.
My language. But
sure.
So then it doesn't really matter how or why people get in, as long as they come in and make that move.
Perfect. As long as they're actually doing the right thing, right?
Yeah, and that comes down to Beautiful. If you let them into an area and say, hey, here's land is available, it's beautiful for your thing.
Yep.
And these are the rules. You need to hire the local people. You need to buy the local vegetables from them. You need to do all these things. And they say, yeah, because they can smell some gold, right? This sign here that you're going to participate with some green taxes for this or whatever it is you have. And they say, yeah, they're easy. I smell the gold. I sign your green thing. Happy days. But if you come in, they come smell the gold, and then you come after. Would you like to participate in saving the planet? No, I'm too busy making gold. So that's what I mean. You do homework before you get investors in, together with a local community and a local decision. And then it's the attraction of the gold overweighs the commitment of hassle or saving.
It's like worth it, right? It's still profitable. This is how we do it here.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, and that I found was the most important, is to have a serious plan and nail it in all different segments of the local community and the local political structure.
Yeah.
Then feed in all the energy that comes via the investors and then the tourists, to feed it into that already set up model or model you have. Yeah. And it's more easy to make it fruitful quickly.
Totally. And of course, I've had a bit of a chat with John about this already, and had a look at some of the details of the plan and kind of got a bit of an understanding of that. And the whole thing about the plan or the model that you've created for investors and developers to kind of come in on is all about preserving the asset that they're investing in long term.
Yeah.
So that they can make a short-term gain, but there's also, this is still going to be here for a long time to come, because we're not going to let anybody come in and mess it up. So it's really securing their investment long-term, and they're going, well, that makes sense right now, and it makes sense long-term. And then, of course, people can come and have an experience of that and go, this place is beautiful, and we're experiencing it, we're interacting with it in a way that it's still going to be beautiful for my kids and for their kids, and it's not going to be a mess.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And that has really been like the message to the local politicians, like be smart here now, be the progressive leader that take care of the future, take care of the children of his tribe, if you may.
Yeah, nice.
And you do that by protecting the land and the nature. And then you will have all the investors, they come running, because exactly as you pointed out, nobody wants to build a beautiful eco-hotel and have a guy next door build a really ugly, ecological.
Dumping sewage onto the beach and, doing a lot of the stuff that we see all over the place here.
Exactly. So there you know that it's not going to be overbuilt. It's only going to be 10% footprint. It's going to be not a bunch of hassling on the beach. It will be the local people running the local things.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you need to import a workforce from different areas of expertise and so on. But the main crew should be the locals. And then also you will have the grandfather, he lost maybe his favorite fishing spot because now there is some divers running around there, or they do stuff. But he might be sitting there in his little fishing boat, remember the days when it was quiet, and now there's a bunch of tourists there. But look, I got a little watch on my hand that I got from my grandson, which is a hotel manager. Yeah. And respect of and he's somebody now. So he became that somebody because of this tourist development, and therefore I can accept it, that I cannot sit there anymore because it benefits my tribe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nice.
Otherwise you have that thing, which I lived in Asia since I was in school, so I can say I would be an expert on little bungalow places or live in little islands. And you can see when it started to go bananas. You can see that, you know what I mean? When they sell their soul or forced to sell the soul. Yep. And then, okay, I lost it anyway, so I'm going to grab what I can. And the human thing of greed kicks in and changes people like that overnight. You can have the little fishermen go bonkers and just losing it and start drinking, or, become like, so all this we wanted to avoid, to set it up locally, because my experience, is that you might have, let's say in the Gillies, beautiful thing. One guy started a hotel there and it goes very well. And then he managed to train some local guys, but he bring most of them from, let's say, Jakarta or Bali, because they were already trained and so on and so on. So he get them there, he gets it going in the Gillies. It's working good. And then he wants to expand. So he finds another island, and there is just hillbillies there. They don't understand anything. So he gets them to just dig around and do boring stuff. And then he would take his other crew from the Gillies and they move down there, and you will see they will play football on the beach in their team. You know what I mean? And the local boys down the beach would play. And it would be that jealousy. They're both Indonesians. They might even be, from the same tribe, Sassaks or Balinese, whatever.
Yeah.
But so they know each other. They know who they are. They can speak their local tongue with each other even. But they don't, because they come from two different worlds. You know what I mean? And that is what happens a lot. And then you have the jealousy. And then you have the grandfather in the boat, pissed off.
Yeah.
He lost his fishing ground and he don't even have a fucking watch on the hand that his you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tied together. And that comes through the community planning, and listen to everybody within society. And listen to all what they have to say, because there's always something to hear from everybody, from the buffalo herdsman to the old grandmother to the dynamite fisherman with one hand, And you must listen to them all and hear their story, and then the consensus of that would be within the subconsciousness of the individuals living there fair, even if they didn't get all they wanted. They see it's like it's a fair
good for
thing.
their family. Yeah,
as good as it can. You know what I mean? And then, okay, our life will change. We will have crazy tourists here in bikinis and so on. But my life is much better now than it was before. It needs to be like that. Otherwise, we lose everything. So
what's the vision? What are we creating? What do you see? In a few years down the track, 5 or 10 years, whatever it is, when a lot of this has actually come to fruition and it's all working and it's all happening. What do you see being there on the eco regions? I mean, specifically Tanjung Ringgit and the 8 islands that we're talking now. And I know that Indonesian government are really encouraging you guys to go, hey, let's take more land and let's do more. But with the land that you've got now, what do you see happening there?
Of course, I see something beautiful, and I see a meeting place where tourists and local people get to merge and enjoy life at its fullest. And I see that we bring in a lot of experts from various parts of Indonesia and around the world to be able to teach about water harvesting, about permaculture, how to grow vegetables in dry climates. And there is many ways that the world has figured out that this tribe not necessarily know.
Sure.
And to teach them that, and they know a lot of things that we don't know. Sure. So that exchange is what I see, like a melting pot. I see a lot of volunteers coming to work there on different projects with the local people, and they can learn some local tongue and they can teach the locals some English, and we get that beneficial bridge of teaching in between different cultures and people that want to participate. And I see the ecoregions as a forerunner for something that can benefit all segments of the government. And we must be pragmatic that cash is king. Nobody wants to do nothing without money. Sure. So how can you swing such a great nation as Indonesia with all that it has to offer? It hasn't really had a team selling it very well.
Sure.
Thailand had a great team, smooth as silk, went, bananas. Indonesia have only had Bali and some surf and some dive, It hasn't had like the nature aspect, and it's one of the most diverse countries on the planet.
Sure. Yeah.
It goes through, 3 time zones. It's 5,000 kilometers. It has all the tribes one can imagine, from almost Aryan-looking Asians in Java down to really super black down in Papua. So it's the most intense nature country on the planet, and that's also where Charles Darwin got all his information about the survival of the fittest and so on. Mr. Wallace, I was sweating his balls off there for years, feeding him with information of how the evolution had happened. And Indonesia was like the role model for this.
Wow. So
I see ecoregions could be a part of helping show the world how beautiful Indonesia is. And a clever progressive government that take care of the natural assets. And that's also how you attract international investment, by taking care of one of the biggest lungs there is. You know, you have the rainforest in South America, and then you have Indonesia.
Yep.
That's the two biggest. And Indonesia has been not very good in keeping it. There's been a lot of fires, there's been a lot of stuff, and there is a lot of political thing that happened why they lost the forests, you know.
Sure.
And that's a very political thing. It's a bit of a hot potato. I don't want to go into that right now. But there is a lot of forest that has been given away in different ways to many companies, and they don't have an intention more than profits, you know. So the ecoregions could be where there's not so much profit anymore. We can go in and do an ecoregion, not just for tourism. Some areas will be maybe only for farming, maybe only for fishing, sustainable fishing. It might be different areas, but a way to take scarred land, heal it, and make it profitable for local people and the government.
There you go.
Yeah,
I think that's the bit right there. We've just got it. That's what you're really doing.
Yeah.
Taking this scarred land, healing it, and giving it value again to the local people, to the government, and lots of different ways to do that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. So Peter, tell me, what's the opportunity now for people to get involved with ecoregions? Where, you know, with where you're at right now, and who's already involved, and what's the, just kind of outline some of the players and some of the opportunities that are there.
Well, we cut off early on in Tanjung Ringgit in East Lombok. We cut off one area called the Friends Village, where we wanted to gather friends from around the world and people, you know, like-minded people that like to see a change in the world and be a part of that change.
What do you mean by cut off? You just made that space available?
Yes. So we just made a bunch of hectares. This will be the Friends Village.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And we've been allowing people to come in and choose their plot stuff for years. So that would be like the melting pot of different styles of sustainable building techniques and so on. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we're starting. And then we have many investors that have been there looking and just been waiting for us to open shop, basically. But as I said earlier, you know, the political wheels, you know, unless you grease them constantly, can, you know, go a bit iffy. Spinning. So we've been on a standstill or a slow roll for a couple of years, but it's picking up now again. So
now's the time, huh?
Now is the time to come and get involved. And everything that has to do, we have a bunch of companies set up for the local people where we'll do joint ventures. Everything from sustainable taxi services to mountain biking. So it could be, or bakery, or restaurants, or vegetable farmers, or aquaponic experts, or anybody, you know, that can add something to the party. We can, anybody has a good idea, hey, I'd like to do that. We can help set up companies for that together with the local people in order to get the local community revving with something which is along the direction of sustainability and all these things. So we want people to come involve themselves with the concept of healing nature and make it better for the local people and themselves. You know? So something that we stress a lot when we talk about, we're a platform. We just come in and politically, because we work with some really clever people that have great experiences from the Swedish government and so on, that knows the political ways to get the rules and regulations down on paper. So that we do, and we're doing it for years, and it's a big job. And then we want to make it easier for investors. They just want to have a house in paradise. They don't want to start a company. They don't want to have all these things, which is a big job, you know.
It can be really challenging.
Can be very challenging, and that's if you want to do big business. If you just want a villa, then we cater for that. So that's what Friends Village is. Nice. Security for the investors, fair share with the local people, and so that's the first phase.
Yep.
And then as soon as now it's opening up again, we have a bunch of investors that would like to do resorts and restaurants and down there.
So these aren't an investor who wants just wants a beautiful villa to retire to or to live in paradise. This is like a next level up investor who is like maybe a developer, an eco developer who's doing resorts and restaurants and that kind of stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
so we're
cool.
looking for partners that want to come in the eco region and help to promote this vision.
What a fabulous opportunity. Because it's one of the hardest things in the world when you come to a place like Indonesia, especially if you know how to run a business, you know how to do the thing, and you can find the talent, you can recruit, you can market, you can do all the stuff, but navigating the legislation to make sure that you don't get your land or your property or your development taken off you down the track because someone didn't tick a box or whatever it is, it's like it's a nightmare, and it's terrifying for a lot of people because we've all heard the horror stories, right, where that happens.
That happens a lot, and we know very well. And as I said, I've been in Indonesia for 25 years.
Sure, so I've heard it all.
And I didn't know how complex it was. And I tell you, most of my friends that are into real estate and so on, they have no idea how deep the rabbit hole goes when you start to look into the political situation. You know what I mean? So we've been doing that, and we have a team of lawyers in Jakarta. So for years, we've been working with the best, and we're setting up. So with security for the investors, security for the local people, security for the land is our aim. So
what you're saying there is you've just taken care of all of that. So if anyone wants to come and build here now, they've got the platform, not only the land, but they can just come and do it in a very safe, very clean, very transparent kind of way. All the contracts are there, and they can see exactly what it is. And
all the building permits, everything we take care of. It's one-stop shop. So you just come with a vision and you pick your spot, and we help with the whole thing. So easy for the investors in order to participate and make the eco-region concept grow.
Nice.
Otherwise, it will be for professionals only, and a lot of land banking people that are not interested to develop, hundreds of hectares of land. So we need to make it easy for people to come in and manifest their vision, even if they're not familiar with the political climate of Indonesia.
Nice. All right. So we've got the guy who just wants a house or a beautiful villa. We've got the people who could want to start a business there, a small, all the different services you could imagine a village or a small town would ever want, especially a tourist town. And then you've got people who want to build resorts and bigger restaurants and hotels and bigger things, but of course, all with green and sustainability in mind. It's got to be 100%, right?
Yeah. So we have a screening of what building materials are not kosher, so to speak.
Sure, yeah.
And, the height, there is some color codes. So everything's supposed to melt into the landscape, Nice. So it needs to go through our screening, and then we can also help in the layout. So we want the fishermen from the sea to be able to look into that big peninsula and not see so big change. So we find a lot of developments.
And all of that protecting the long-term value of the investment anyway, because the place is still beautiful. Yeah, nice. Yeah. So what else? So what's the top level for people to come and get involved?
Yeah, we have some big enterprises going in, and of course, you need people on. If you're going to go off grid, you need people that do the water.
Yeah.
You need people that produce the electricity. So you need the big players when it comes into this, and nobody would really care to do a big setup, a solar park, unless there was something, what I mean, potential of selling this electricity to thousands of people, So that's why also scale for something like this is important in order to attract people that eventually might want to build, a car ferry that is powered by the electricity, like what's happening now in Sweden.
Wow, really?
They had these big ferries started to run electrically.
Really?
And
I had no idea. That's so cool.
Yeah.
The Swedes think of everything, man.
That's why they love this project. You know, it's also like we've been heavily supported by Sweden, because it's all what Sweden stands for politically, and we have lots of expertise in this.
Yeah.
So in order to pile on all these guys, if they know there is an area where it's safe to invest, it's not going to be overrun with lots of other stuff, then you can get serious players that can do a heavy cost on infrastructure, because they see that this is going to be good for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have that little eco dream, the Mother Teresa hippie thing over there, but it doesn't really kick off and change. So you need to get the big players and the big money, and they only come if where there's sugar, there's ants. So you provide sugar, and when the ants are there, then they can change their heart and soul, because they see the smile in the local people. No, but they will never come to have that, the possibility to change, unless some sugar there. So you dangle the sugar, the players come, and then hopefully they see, wow, what I've been doing, this is much better. I get my investor, I get a good return on investment, and I'm making all these people happy, which I'm even more happy now. So when I go home, this is better. I'm a businessman, but I feel much better. So the scale is important to bring all that. And then you have the domino effect. It's like, oh, they're involved. Shit, there's going to be something serious. So the other guys get involved. You know what I mean? And then when you have, and now we have a team that could do this. Because it's a lot when you apply for this eco-tourist thing with the forest department and the tourist department. It's a lot. There's a jungle of papers. There's not everybody can do this. It's years, and it's millions, literally millions of papers and budgets and interviews around them. We're going bananas. So now we have it down. I would say we're the only people, and the Indonesian government say it too, you are the experts on our own rules and regulations. Wow. Well done. So we correct them, because in order for us to be, as I said, we work with the Swedish government in many ways. Yeah. So we do everything by the book. We have to. We can't not do it. Yeah, sure. And therefore, we do like a blueprint of how it could be done within the framework of Indonesian laws and regulations. Wow. And then we can take this and duplicate it in other areas. Nice. And Jokowi has been informed. We've been on his agenda for quite a while, the Indonesian president. And he sees this as a potential of bringing in big investment, which is his job, to secure the economy for his nation. So hopefully this can also grow and becomes something that can benefit not just tourist land, but other available land in Indonesia. Well, Peter, thank you so much for taking the time to share. It's fabulous. Having been there on the land, I'm even more excited to be having this conversation and really getting all this background and insight from you. And I really appreciate you being so transparent with your agenda in all of this, right? And the sugar and the ants and you're not hiding anything. It's like, this is what it is. We want to change the world, and we want to make it profitable to be able to do that for the people. So I think it's beautiful, the heart you bring to this, and I can really feel you're doing it all for all the right reasons. That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, and if we don't do it, who will do it? That's how I feel. And all my brothers and sisters, and it's like, come on, now is the time. Really, now is the time. Yeah. And how can we do it? It needs to have some substance that people can bank on, so to speak. You know what I mean? Absolutely. You have that big jolt of energy, woof, going to one area. And then hopefully local governments can say, hey, we do nothing. We just protect it. And the investment is flooding in. That was easy. You know what I mean? So hopefully that's like, whoa, that's the quickest way for our success, is just protect nature. Yeah. and involve the locals. That's apparently what these crazy tourists want. Whatever. And then we can have a change to reckon with.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's fantastic. Well, man, again, I'm so grateful for you taking the time. Any last thoughts? I mean, for anybody who is watching this and is just going, this is awesome, I want to be involved. I'm super open and available to connecting with people, and really looking forward to introducing them to the right person on your team for whatever level that they want to get involved at, and giving people good information about what's going on and how they can be part of that and profit from it, or support it, or just benefit from it, or whatever they want to do. So that's awesome. And any final thoughts, any last comments before we wrap up?
No, anybody that want to know more can just find us on the internet and come to the office and come, we take care of you, and we give you all the information that you need, and hopefully we join forces together.
Right on.
Yeah.
Peter, thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful and glad we could get the time together, and we got the technology working, and man, it's such a credit. So on behalf of, my children and children everywhere for generations to come, who will be enjoying pristine oceans and clear blue skies because of the work that you're doing now, and this, this hell that you've been through over the last few years, you're absolutely right. If we don't do it, who's going to do it? So thank you so much. It's a credit to you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for the
Pleasure,
opportunity.
brother.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
Right on.
Bye.